Emma Rodriguez adjusted the strap of her portfolio bag as she stepped into the Westwood Gallery, the click of her heels echoing against polished marble floors. The opening reception buzzed with energy, clusters of elegantly dressed people admiring abstract paintings that looked like expensive accidents. She was here for work, networking for her graphic design business, but the champagne and soft jazz made it feel less like obligation and more like possibility. She accepted a glass from a passing server and moved toward a sculpture that resembled twisted metal praying. Art always made her feel slightly inadequate, like she was missing some essential translation guide that everyone else possessed. She tilted her head, trying to see what the artist intended. "It's supposed to represent the duality of human ambition," a warm voice said beside her. "But honestly, I think it looks like my espresso machine exploded." Emma laughed before she could stop herself, turning to find a man with an easy smile and perfectly styled brown hair. He wore his suit like he'd been born in it, relaxed confidence radiating from every gesture. "Tyler Sinclair," he said, extending his hand. "And before you ask, no, I don't actually understand art. I just host events and smile at the right moments." Emma Rodriguez. She shook his hand, appreciating his firm grip. "I design marketing materials, so I'm professionally obligated to pretend I understand visual metaphors." Finally, someone honest. Tyler's grin widened. "Most people here are convinced that squinting harder makes them more cultured." They fell into conversation easily, Tyler's humor balanced by genuine interest in her work. He owned 3 upscale restaurants across the city, he explained, and was always looking for creative partnerships. Emma found herself relaxing, enjoying the way he made her feel witty and interesting. When he mentioned his family's annual charity gala in 2 weeks, she heard herself accepting his invitation before fully processing the question. "Excellent," Tyler said, pulling out his phone. "Let me get your number. Fair warning, my family is intense. Loud, opinionated, and they will absolutely interrogate you about your intentions." "Intentions?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "I thought this was just a gala." "It is." But his smile suggested otherwise. "I just like to be transparent about what you're walking into." They exchanged numbers, and Tyler excused himself to greet other guests. Emma felt buoyant, lighter than she had in months. Maybe her best friend Casey had been right. Maybe she did need to put herself out there more, take chances, meet people outside her usual circle of freelance designers and coffee shop regulars. She was admiring a painting of fractured light when she felt it. That strange awareness that someone was watching her. Emma turned slowly, scanning the gallery until her eyes locked with a man standing near the entrance. He was taller than Tyler, broader through the shoulders, wearing a charcoal suit that looked expensive in an understated way. His dark hair was slightly longer, less styled, and his face held a severity that Tyler's lacked. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Dark, intense, focused entirely on her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Emma's breath caught. The room seemed to narrow, sound fading to background noise as they stared at each other across 30 feet of polished floor. She felt heat rise to her cheeks, her pulse quickening in a way that had nothing to do with the champagne. Then Tyler appeared beside the man, clapping him on the shoulder and gesturing toward Emma. The spell broke. The man's expression shifted to something carefully neutral, and he nodded once before turning away. Tyler navigated through the crowd toward her, the other man following reluctantly behind. "Emma," Tyler said, slightly breathless. "I want you to meet my brother. Julian, this is Emma Rodriguez, the designer I was telling you about." "Emma, my older brother, Julian Sinclair." Julian extended his hand, his expression polite but distant. "Ms. Rodriguez." His voice was deeper than Tyler's, rougher around the edges. When Emma took his hand, electricity shot up her arm. Julian's eyes widened almost imperceptibly, and she knew he felt it too. They held the handshake a fraction too long before both pulling away. "Julian's the serious one in the family," Tyler said, oblivious to the tension. Investment banking, early mornings, probably hasn't taken a vacation since 2019. Someone has to be responsible, Julian said, his gaze flickering to Emma before settling somewhere over her shoulder. Tyler handles the charm. I handle the numbers. He's being modest, Tyler said. Julian built our family's investment portfolio from the ground up. Half the reason we could expand the restaurants was because of his financial strategies. Emma struggled to form words, her thoughts scattered by Julian's proximity. He smelled like cedar and something darker, complex. That's impressive, she managed. Investment banking must be demanding. It has its moments. Julian's tone was carefully neutral. Tyler mentioned you do graphic design. Corporate or independent? Independent. I have my own small business, mostly branding work for startups and local businesses. Emma forced herself to maintain eye contact, fighting the urge to look away from the intensity in his gaze. It keeps me busy. I imagine it does. Something flickered in Julian's expression, gone before she could identify it. If you'll excuse me, I need to make a call. Tyler, I'll see you Sunday. He walked away without another word, disappearing into the crowd. Emma released a breath she hadn't known she was holding. Don't mind him, Tyler said, watching his brother leave with a slight frown. Julian's always been like that. Reserved, keeps people at arm's length. Our mother says he was born serious. He seems very focused, Emma said, choosing her words carefully. That's a diplomatic way of putting it. Tyler turned back to her with his easy smile restored. But enough about my complicated family dynamics. Tell me more about your business. What kind of projects do you love most? They talked for another hour, Tyler's attention never wavering. He was attentive, asking follow-up questions, laughing at her stories about difficult clients. By any reasonable standard, Emma should have been thrilled. Tyler was handsome, successful, funny, clearly interested. Everything she'd told Casey she wanted. But as they said goodbye and Emma walked to her car, it wasn't Tyler's smile she kept seeing. It was Julian's dark eyes, the careful distance he'd maintained, the way his hand had felt against hers for those few charged seconds. She drove home through streets slick with evening rain, her mind replaying the moment their eyes had met across the gallery. Emma had dated enough to recognize attraction, but this felt different. Bigger. Like something fundamental had shifted without her permission. Her apartment welcomed her with familiar quiet. She fed her goldfish, changed into pajamas, and curled up on the couch with her laptop, intending to work on a logo design. Instead, she found herself staring at the screen, seeing nothing. Her phone buzzed. Tyler had sent a photo from the gallery, the two of them laughing at something off camera. Had a great time tonight. Can't wait for the gala. Sweet dreams, Emma. She smiled, typing back a response about looking forward to it. Another message came through almost immediately, this time from an unknown number. This is Julian Sinclair. Tyler gave me your contact information for potential business consultation regarding restaurant branding. We should discuss parameters before the gala. Are you available this week? Emma stared at the message, her heart racing. The words were professional, businesslike. But she remembered the way he'd looked at her, the electricity when they touched. This wasn't just about business. She should decline. Should maintain boundaries, focus on getting to know Tyler without complications. The smart choice was obvious. Instead, she found herself typing, I'm available Thursday afternoon. My studio or a coffee shop? His response came quickly. Your studio. I prefer to see someone's workspace. It reveals their process. I'll send my assistant the details tomorrow. Emma set down her phone, staring at her reflection in the darkened window. What was she doing? Tyler had been nothing but kind, and she was already entertaining thoughts about his brother. This was exactly the kind of mess she'd promised herself she'd avoid after her last relationship ended badly, but as she lay in bed that night, unable to sleep, Emma couldn't shake the memory of Julian's eyes finding hers across the gallery. Couldn't forget the way her entire body had responded to his presence, like recognizing something she hadn't known she was searching for. Thursday was 3 days away. 3 days to convince herself this was just business. 3 days to prepare for whatever was happening between her and a man she barely knew, who happened to be the brother of someone actually pursuing her. Emma closed her eyes, but sleep remained elusive. Somewhere across the city, she wondered if Julian was lying awake too, fighting the same losing battle against an attraction that made no sense and promised nothing but complications. The smart choice would be to cancel Thursday, to focus on Tyler, to avoid whatever dangerous territory this was leading toward. But Emma had never been particularly good at taking the smart path when her instincts screamed otherwise. Thursday would come. And whatever happened then would set everything else in motion, for better or worse. She just had to decide whether she was brave enough to face it. Thursday arrived with gray skies and the threat of rain. Emma had changed her outfit 3 times before settling on black jeans and a fitted burgundy sweater, professional but not trying too hard. She'd cleaned her studio twice, rearranging her desk and the client portfolio samples on the shelf. Now she sat at her drafting table, pretending to work on a logo design while checking her phone every 30 seconds. Julian was due at 2 o'clock. It was currently 1:45. Her studio occupied the second floor of a converted warehouse in the Arts District, exposed brick walls lined with her design work and inspiration boards. Large windows flooded the space with natural light, though today the clouds dimmed everything to soft gray. She'd made coffee, then worried it seemed too domestic, then decided she was overthinking everything. At precisely 2 o'clock, a knock sounded at the door. Emma took a breath, smoothed her sweater, and opened it. Julian stood in the hallway wearing dark slacks and a navy button-down with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked less severe than at the gallery, but no less intense. A leather messenger bag hung from his shoulder. "Ms. Rodriguez," he said formally. "Thank you for making time." "Emma, please." She stepped aside. "Come in." Julian entered, his gaze sweeping the studio with the same focused attention he'd given her at the gallery. He moved to the inspiration board, studying the mix of vintage advertisements, color swatches, and photographs she'd pinned there. "You have eclectic taste," he observed. Victorian typography next to minimalist Japanese design. "How do you reconcile such different aesthetics?" "I don't try to reconcile them." Emma joined him, looking at the board with fresh eyes. "I pull from whatever speaks to the project. Design isn't about my preferences. It's about understanding what the client needs to communicate and finding the visual language that does it best." Julian nodded slowly, something like approval crossing his features. "That's a mature approach. Most creatives I've worked with can't separate ego from execution." "Well, ego doesn't pay the bills." Emma gestured to the small meeting table by the windows. "Should we discuss the restaurant branding?" They sat, and Julian pulled a folder from his bag. For the next 20 minutes, they talked business. Julian outlined his vision for elevating the restaurant brand, expanding beyond Tyler's current 3 locations to something regional, possibly national. He spoke with precision, laying out market analysis, demographic targets, competitive positioning. Emma found herself leaning forward, genuinely engaged despite her nervousness. "You've thought about this extensively," she said, flipping through the documents he'd provided. "Does Tyler know you're planning expansion at this scale?" "Tyler knows I think he's underutilizing his potential." Julian's expression tightened slightly. "He's content with what he has. I'm not content for him." There was something in his tone, an edge that suggested old disagreements. Emma treaded carefully. Being content isn't always a bad thing. Some people measure success differently. And some people settle because pushing forward feels too risky. Julian met her eyes. You don't strike me as someone who settles, Emma. The use of her first name sent warmth through her chest. I've taken my share of risks. My business, moving to the city with no backup plan, saying yes to gallery receptions where I don't know anyone. She paused. Sometimes the biggest risk is admitting what you actually want. The air between them shifted, charged with unspoken meaning. Julian held her gaze, and Emma saw the careful control in his expression begin to crack. This isn't about branding, he said quietly. You know that. Emma's heart hammered. Then what is it about? Julian stood abruptly, moving to the windows. Rain had started to fall, droplets racing down the glass. Tyler called me after the gallery. He was excited, more animated than I've seen him in years. He talked about you for 30 minutes. Your laugh, your perspective, how easy you were to talk to. Julian. I should have been happy for him. Julian's hands clenched at his sides. I wanted to be happy for him. Instead, all I could think about was the way you looked at me across that gallery. The way I looked at you. Like everything else in the room had disappeared. Emma stood slowly, moving toward him but stopping several feet away. I felt it too. I know. He turned to face her. That's the problem. If this was one-sided, I could manage it. I could step back, let Tyler pursue you, and eventually move past it. But it's not one-sided, is it? No, Emma whispered. It's not. They stared at each other, the rain drumming steadily against the windows. Emma's entire body hummed with awareness, every nerve ending focused on the man standing 6 feet away who felt simultaneously too close and impossibly distant. I won't do this to my brother, Julian said, but his voice lacked conviction. Tyler deserves better than to be collateral damage in something he didn't see coming. So what do we do? Emma wrapped her arms around herself. Pretend we don't feel this? Go to that gala and act like everything's normal? I don't know. Julian ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I've spent my entire life being the responsible one. Making the difficult choices, putting family first, doing what's right instead of what I want. But this, with you, it's the first time I've wanted something so badly that doing the right thing feels impossible. Emma moved closer, drawn by the raw honesty in his voice. Maybe there isn't a right thing. Maybe there's just what's true. And what's true? That I barely know you, but I can't stop thinking about you. Emma stopped directly in front of him. That I like your brother, genuinely like him, but when I'm with him, I'm wondering where you are. That feels awful and selfish and I hate myself for it, but it's the truth. Julian's jaw tightened, his hands flexing like he wanted to reach for her but was holding himself back. Emma, if we cross this line, everything changes. Tyler will be hurt. My family will be in chaos. And there's no guarantee we're not just confusing attraction for something deeper. I know all of that. Emma's voice steadied. But I also know I can't build something real with Tyler while feeling this way about you. That's not fair to anyone, especially him. They stood there, inches apart, the weight of the decision pressing down on both of them. Rain fell harder now, the sound filling the silence as they wrestled with impossible choices. Julian's phone rang, shattering the moment. He pulled it from his pocket, glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted to concern. I need to take this. It's my father. Emma nodded, stepping back to give him privacy. She moved to her desk, trying to focus on anything other than the conversation happening behind her. But Julian's tone caught her attention, sharp and worried. When did this happen? Is he stable? I'm on my way. He ended the call, already moving toward the door. I have to go. My father's in the hospital, possible heart attack. They're running tests. Oh my God, Julian, go. Is there anything I can do? He paused at the door, looking back at her with an expression that held too many emotions to name. I'll contact you when I know more. About my father and about everything else. Then he was gone, leaving Emma standing in her studio with the rain falling outside and her world feeling fundamentally altered. She sank into her chair, processing what had almost happened, what had been said, what still hung unresolved between them. Her phone buzzed. Tyler. Hey, just checking in. Julian told me he was meeting with you about the branding project. How did it go? Also, my dad's in the hospital. Nothing serious, just precautionary tests, but Julian's freaking out. Anyway, still on for dinner tomorrow? Emma stared at the message, guilt washing over her. Tyler's casual tone, his easy assumption that everything was fine, his trust that his brother and the woman he was interested in had simply discussed business. She felt like the worst person alive. She typed back, I hope your father's okay. Let me know if you need anything. And yes, still on for tomorrow. The next 24 hours passed in anxious uncertainty. Emma threw herself into work, finishing 2 client projects and starting a third. But her mind kept returning to Julian's words, the look in his eyes, the way her entire body had responded to his presence. Tyler texted updates about his father. False alarm, just stress and indigestion. Tests came back clear. The family was relieved but shaken. Julian had apparently worked himself into exhaustion at the hospital, refusing to leave until every test result came back. Friday evening, Emma met Tyler at a small Italian restaurant in the theater district. He looked tired but smiled when he saw her, standing to pull out her chair. Sorry I'm a mess, he said, settling across from her. The last 2 days have been intense. Watching my dad hooked up to monitors really puts things in perspective. I can't even imagine. Emma reached across to squeeze his hand. I'm glad he's okay. Me too. Tyler ordered wine, and they fell into easier conversation. He told stories about his father's stubbornness at the hospital, how his mother had threatened the doctors into running additional tests. Emma laughed in the right places, asked appropriate questions, and tried to ignore the hollowness in her chest. Tyler was wonderful. Attentive, funny, open in a way Julian wasn't. Being with him should have felt right. Instead, it felt like wearing clothes that almost fit but pinched in invisible places. I wanted to talk to you about something, Tyler said as their entrees arrived. The gala tomorrow night. I know we've only known each other for a week, but I really like you, Emma. I want to see where this goes. Emma's throat tightened. Tyler. Let me finish. He smiled. I know I'm probably moving too fast. But life's short, you know? My dad's scare reminded me of that. When you find someone who makes you feel the way you make me feel, why waste time playing it cool? How do I make you feel? Emma asked quietly. Like things could be easy. Tyler's expression softened. Like I don't have to try so hard or be anyone other than who I am. You're the first person in years who's made me feel that way. Emma wanted to sink through the floor. This honest, kind man was laying his feelings bare, and all she could think about was his brother. The guilt was suffocating. I like you too, she said, and it was true. Just not in the way he needed. I think you're amazing, Tyler. He grinned, missing the careful phrasing. Good. Because I'm pretty sure my whole family is going to fall in love with you tomorrow night. Fair warning, my mother will probably try to plan our wedding before dessert is served. Emma forced a laugh, but panic fluttered in her chest. Meeting his whole family, being presented as Tyler's date, all while fighting feelings for Julian. This was a disaster waiting to happen. Her phone buzzed. A text from Julian. We need to talk before the gala. Are you free tomorrow afternoon? Emma excused herself to the restroom, her hands shaking as she typed back. Tyler told me about your dad. I'm so glad he's okay. And yes, I'm free at 3. Julian's response came immediately. My place. I'll send the address. She returned to the table, where Tyler was talking enthusiastically about the gala, the people she'd meet, the dancing. Emma nodded along, feeling like she was watching herself from outside her body, making choices she couldn't fully control. That night, lying in bed, Emma stared at the ceiling and tried to make sense of her feelings. She could still back out, could cancel with Julian and focus entirely on giving Tyler a real chance. That was the right thing to do. The kind thing. But the thought of not seeing Julian, of not having that conversation, felt like cutting off oxygen. Whatever this was between them, it demanded resolution. She couldn't move forward with Tyler while this hung unresolved, and she couldn't walk away from Julian without understanding what they were running from. Saturday afternoon found Emma standing outside an upscale apartment building in the financial district. She'd changed clothes 4 times again, finally settling on jeans and a cream sweater. Her palms were sweating as she pressed the buzzer for the penthouse. "Come up," Julian's voice came through the intercom. The elevator ride felt eternal. When the doors opened directly into Julian's apartment, Emma stepped into a space that somehow fit him perfectly. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, minimalist furniture in grays and blacks, built-in bookshelves lined with heavy volumes. Everything was ordered, controlled, revealing nothing except careful discipline. Julian stood by the windows, wearing jeans and a dark Henley, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. But his expression was grave. "Thank you for coming," he said without preamble. "I've been thinking about this constantly since Thursday. About what's fair, what's right, what we owe to Tyler and to ourselves." Emma set down her bag, moving into the living room. "And what did you decide?" "That I can't do this." Julian's voice was rough. "I can't pursue you while Tyler has feelings for you. I won't be the person who destroys my brother's happiness for my own." The words hit like physical blows. Emma had known this was coming, had prepared herself for it, but hearing it still hurt. "So that's it? We just ignore what we feel? What we feel doesn't matter if it causes harm to people we care about." Julian moved closer. "Tyler is my brother. We've had our differences, our competition over the years, but I love him. I won't be the reason he gets hurt." "And what about me?" Emma's voice rose. "Do I get a say in this? Because last I checked, I'm not some prize you two are competing over. I'm a person with my own feelings and choices. I know that. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you're making decisions for everyone. Tyler gets what he wants, you get to be the noble one, and I get to pretend I don't feel something real because it's inconvenient for your family dynamics." Julian's control cracked. "You think this is easy for me? You think I want to walk away from the first person who's made me feel alive in years? I'm doing this because it's the only way to preserve what matters." "What matters?" Emma stepped closer, anger overriding caution. "Your brother's feelings matter, your family matters, but what we feel doesn't. That's not nobility, Julian. That's cowardice." His eyes flashed. "You have no idea what you're talking about. Then explain it to me." Emma stood directly in front of him now. "Explain why we should both be miserable so Tyler can pursue something that isn't real. Because that's what this is, Julian. Whatever Tyler and I have, it's not real. It's easy and comfortable and completely hollow compared to this." "Stop." Julian's voice was strained. "Why? Because hearing the truth makes your decision harder?" Emma's hands shook. "I came here thinking you'd say exactly this. That you'd choose duty over feeling. But I also came hoping you'd be brave enough to admit that some things are worth fighting for, even when they're complicated." They stared at each other, breathing hard, the apartment silent except for the distant city sounds filtering through the windows. Emma saw the war in Julian's expression, duty and desire battling for dominance. Then Julian closed the distance between them, his hands cupping her face as he kissed her with desperate intensity. Emma gasped against his mouth, her fingers clutching his shirt, pulling him closer. The kiss was everything the moment at her studio should have been, fierce and hungry, weeks of tension finally breaking free. When they pulled apart, both breathing raggedly, Julian rested his forehead against hers. "This is a mistake." "I know," Emma whispered. "Tyler will hate me." "I know. My family will be furious." "I know." Emma pulled back to meet his eyes. "But Julian, I can't pretend anymore. I tried. I wanted to give Tyler a real chance, but every time I'm with him, I'm thinking about you. That's not fair to him either." Julian's hands slid to her shoulders. "What do we do?" "We tell him the truth." Emma's voice steadied. "Before the gala, before this goes any further. Tyler deserves honesty, even if it hurts. Especially because it hurts." The clock on Julian's wall read 4:30. The gala started at 7. That gave them 2.5 hours to figure out how to tell Tyler that the woman he was excited about and the brother he'd competed with his entire life had fallen for each other. Emma sat on Julian's couch, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea she wasn't drinking. Julian paced by the windows, his phone in his hand, putting it down, picking it back up. "We could wait until after the gala," he said for the third time. "Let him have tonight, then tell him tomorrow." "That's worse." Emma set down her mug. "Imagine how betrayed he'll feel finding out we knew before the event and let him parade me around as his date anyway." "That's cruel, Julian." "You're right." Julian stopped pacing. "I know you're right. I just need a minute to figure out how to destroy my brother's evening." "You're not destroying anything. We're being honest." Emma stood, moving to him. "Tyler is a good person. He'll be hurt, maybe angry, but he'll eventually understand. What he won't forgive is being lied to." Julian's jaw tightened, but he nodded. He pulled out his phone and typed quickly. "I'm asking him to come here. Told him it's urgent family business." 20 minutes later, the buzzer rang. Emma's stomach clenched as Julian let Tyler into the building. Those minutes waiting for the elevator felt like hours. Emma positioned herself by the bookshelves, wanting to give the brothers space while still being present. The elevator doors opened, and Tyler stepped in wearing slacks and a dress shirt, clearly already preparing for the gala. His expression shifted from concern to confusion when he saw Emma. "Emma? What are you doing here? I thought we were meeting at the gala." Tyler looked between her and Julian. "What's going on? Is Dad okay?" "Dad's fine." Julian's voice was steady but strained. "Tyler, we need to talk to you about something. Please sit down." Tyler's confusion deepened, but he moved to the couch. Emma stayed standing, her hands clasped together. Julian remained by the windows, his posture rigid. "This is weird," Tyler said slowly. "You're both looking at me like someone died. Just tell me whatever it is." Julian took a breath. "There's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to be direct. Emma and I have developed feelings for each other. We didn't plan it, didn't want it to happen, but it did. And we thought you deserved to know before anything went further." The color drained from Tyler's face. He looked at Emma, then back at Julian, processing. "You're joking." "I'm not. This is a joke." Tyler stood abruptly. "Some weird test or prank or something, because this cannot be real." "Tyler," Emma started, but he cut her off. "When?" His voice rose. "When did this happen? At the gallery? Before that? Have you been seeing each other behind my back?" "No," Emma said firmly. "Nothing happened between us, Tyler. Not physically. But the feelings were there from the moment we met, and we've been fighting them because we both care about you." "Oh, how generous." Tyler's laugh was bitter. You both care about me so much that you fell for each other while I was actually trying to build something real. This isn't about you, Julian said quietly. This is about something neither of us expected or wanted. But ignoring it would be worse. Leading you on would be worse. Tyler turned on his brother, anger replacing shock. Of course this is about me, Julian. Everything is always about me, isn't it? Poor Tyler, never quite good enough, always needing Big Brother to swoop in and show him how it's really done. But this? This is low even for you. That's not what's happening here, Julian's voice hardened. You think I wanted this? You think I enjoyed watching you excited about someone for the first time in years, knowing what I was feeling? I tried to stay away. I tried to let you have this. But you couldn't. Tyler's hands clenched into fists. You just had to prove that even when I find someone first, you can take her. Just like you took the promotion at Dad's company, the recognition, the respect. God forbid Tyler has one thing that's just his. Emma stepped forward. Tyler, this isn't a competition. I'm not a trophy that Julian won from you. I have my own feelings and choices. And the truth is, what you and I have, it's sweet and easy, but it's not deep. You deserve someone who feels about you the way I feel about Julian. Tyler looked at her with wounded eyes. You don't think I could tell something was off? The way you'd zone out during dinner, how you'd get this look on your face like you were somewhere else. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I was inventing problems. Turns out I was just ignoring obvious signs. I'm sorry, Emma said softly. I genuinely like you, Tyler. You're funny and kind and any woman would be lucky to be with you. But I can't be that woman when my heart is somewhere else. With my brother. Tyler shook his head. The one person who makes this as complicated and painful as possible. I never wanted to hurt you, Julian said. If I could choose not to feel this way, I would. But I can't, Tyler. And lying about it, pretending it doesn't exist, that would hurt you more in the long run. Don't pretend this is for my benefit. Tyler moved toward the elevator. You want her, fine. You got her. Congratulations on winning again, Julian. I hope it was worth destroying whatever relationship we had left. Tyler, please. Julian took a step forward. Don't leave like this. How should I leave? Should I stay and give you my blessing? Maybe help you pick out what to wear to the gala you'll now attend with my date? Tyler's voice cracked slightly. I need to get out of here. I need to process this without you both staring at me with your guilty faces. He jabbed the elevator button repeatedly. The doors opened and Tyler stepped in, turning to face them one last time. For what it's worth, he said quietly, the anger draining into something sadder, I hope you're both happy. I hope this impossible connection you have is worth the mess you've made. Because you're not just dealing with hurt feelings, Julian. You're dealing with Mom and Dad, with the family, with everyone who will take sides. And Emma, good luck navigating that world. The Sinclairs don't do simple. The elevator doors closed. Emma sank onto the couch, her hands shaking. Julian stood frozen by the windows, staring at nothing. That went about as badly as it could have, Emma said. He'll come around eventually. Julian's voice lacked conviction. Tyler's not one to hold grudges. Julian, he's devastated. And he's right about your family. This is going to cause major problems. Julian moved to sit beside her, taking her hand. I know. But Emma, I meant what I said. I can't pretend this doesn't exist. I can't watch you walk away because it's easier for everyone else. Emma looked at their joined hands, feeling the rightness of it despite everything. So what now? Now we face whatever comes next. Together. They sat in silence, the weight of their choice settling around them. Emma's phone buzzed. Tyler had sent a text. Not coming to the gala. Tell mom and dad whatever you want. I'm done. Julian read the message over her shoulder. I should call my parents, explain before Tyler does. The next hour was brutal. Julian called his father first, explaining the situation in calm, measured tones. Salvatore's voice carried through the phone, loud enough for Emma to hear his disappointment and frustration. Then his mother, Diane, whose icy silence was somehow worse than yelling. By the time Julian ended the calls, he looked exhausted. They want to meet you. Tomorrow, family breakfast. It's not optional. Am I walking into an ambush? Probably. Julian managed a small smile. But I'll be there with you. They decided to skip the gala entirely. Instead, they stayed in Julian's apartment, talking about everything they'd been holding back. Julian told her about growing up in Tyler's shadow, always the responsible one while his brother got to be carefree. Emma shared her fears about being seen as the woman who came between brothers, about whether what they felt was real or just the intensity of forbidden attraction. As the sun set, painting the city in shades of orange and gold, Julian pulled Emma closer on the couch. I need you to understand something. This path we're choosing, it's going to be difficult. My family will test you, Tyler will take time to forgive, and there will be moments where you question whether it's worth it. Are you trying to scare me away? Emma asked. I'm trying to be realistic. Julian tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. But I'm also telling you that despite all of that, I want to try. I want to see where this goes, fight for it, build something real. Emma kissed him softly. Then that's what we'll do. Sunday morning arrived too quickly. Emma dressed carefully for breakfast at the Sinclair family home, settling on a simple navy dress and minimal jewelry. Julian picked her up at 8, looking as nervous as she felt. The Sinclair house was exactly what Emma expected, grand, beautiful, and slightly intimidating. Diane Sinclair answered the door, her expression carefully neutral as she looked Emma up and down. So you're the one, Diane said. Not hostile, but not warm either. Come in. Everyone's waiting. The dining room held Salvatore, Diane, and Tyler's younger sister, Rebecca, who Emma hadn't met before. Tyler's chair sat conspicuously empty. Breakfast was uncomfortable. Salvatore asked pointed questions about Emma's business, her family, her intentions. Diane watched her with assessing eyes, occasionally sharing glances with Rebecca. Julian sat beside Emma, his hand finding hers under the table whenever the questions got too aggressive. Finally, Salvatore set down his coffee cup. Let me be clear. I don't like this situation. I don't like my sons fighting over a woman, and I don't like the discord this has brought into my family. Dad, Julian started, but Salvatore held up a hand. I'm not finished. I don't like it, but I also can't control it. You're both adults. If this is real, if this is worth the damage it's caused, then you'll need to prove it. To Tyler, to us, to yourselves. How do we do that? Emma asked quietly. By being honest. By not giving up when things get hard. Diane spoke for the first time, her voice softer than her husband's. By understanding that Tyler needs time and space, and respecting that even if it's painful. Rebecca leaned forward. For what it's worth, I've watched Tyler and Julian compete their whole lives. And I've never seen Julian look at anyone the way he looks at you, Emma. That has to count for something. The breakfast ended with cautious acceptance if not approval. As Julian drove Emma home, she felt simultaneously relieved and exhausted. That went better than expected, Julian said. Your father basically said he doesn't like me. He said he doesn't like the situation. That's different. Julian pulled up outside her building. Give them time. They'll come around. Over the next 3 weeks, Emma and Julian built something real amidst the chaos. They had quiet dinners at her apartment, took long walks through the city, spent hours talking about everything and nothing. Julian introduced her to his work, and Emma showed him her creative process. They learned each other's rhythms, discovering compatibility beneath the initial intensity. Tyler remained distant. He'd moved temporarily to stay with friends, avoiding family dinners and declining Julian's calls. Emma sent him one text apologizing again and offering to talk whenever he was ready. He never responded. Then one evening, Emma's doorbell rang unexpectedly. She opened it to find Tyler standing in the hallway, hands in his pockets, looking uncertain. "Hi," he said. "Can we talk?" Emma stepped aside, and Tyler entered her apartment slowly, taking in the space. He noticed the flowers Julian had brought her, visible on the counter. "I'm not here to yell or make this harder," Tyler said, still standing. "I've been thinking a lot these past weeks. About you, about Julian, about why I'm so angry." "Tyler. Let me finish." He took a breath. "I realized I wasn't just angry about losing you. I was angry because it confirmed every fear I've had about my brother. That he's better than me, that people will always choose him, that I'm somehow less because he exists." "That's not true," Emma said gently. "Maybe not. But it's how I felt." Tyler moved to her window, looking out at the street. "Here's the thing, though. These weeks apart, I've had time to really think about what we had, Emma. And you were right. It was easy and comfortable, but it wasn't deep. I liked the idea of you more than I knew the real you. And that's on me. I should have been more honest from the start." "Yeah, you should have." Tyler turned to face her. "But I also should have seen the signs. Should have noticed that you were always distracted, that something was missing." He paused. "I've been on a few dates recently. Actually connecting with someone. And I realized what I felt for you was more about not being alone than about actual compatibility." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. "I'm so sorry for how this happened. I know you are. And I believe you didn't mean to hurt me." Tyler moved toward the door. "I'm not ready to have dinner with you and Julian or pretend everything's fine. But I also don't want to lose my brother over this. So I'm choosing to work on forgiving both of you. It's going to take time." "Thank you," Emma whispered. "That means everything." Tyler nodded and left. Emma immediately called Julian, telling him about the visit. She heard the relief in his voice, the lightness that came from having one less weight pressing down. 2 months later, Emma stood in a redesigned space that would become the flagship location for Tyler's expanding restaurant brand. She'd spent weeks developing the visual identity, working closely with both brothers to balance Tyler's vision with Julian's business strategy. It had been tense at times, but slowly, Tyler had thawed. The grand opening was a family affair. Diane and Salvatore beamed with pride, Rebecca brought her new boyfriend, and Tyler moved through the crowd with easy confidence. When he spotted Emma and Julian arriving together, he made his way over. "The space looks incredible," Tyler said to Emma. "You really captured what I was going for." "It helps when the client knows what he wants," Emma replied carefully. Tyler looked at Julian, something passing between the brothers. Then Tyler extended his hand. "Thank you for pushing the expansion. I was too comfortable playing it safe." Julian shook his brother's hand, and Emma saw years of competition and comparison begin to ease. "You did the hard work. I just provided the framework. We both know that's not entirely true." Tyler's smile was genuine if still slightly reserved. "But I'll take the compliment." As the evening progressed, Emma watched the Sinclair family interact with new understanding. They were loud, complicated, occasionally overwhelming. But beneath the drama was fierce loyalty and love. She was beginning to find her place within it, not as Tyler's girlfriend or Julian's new relationship, but as herself. Later, on Julian's apartment balcony overlooking the glittering city, Emma leaned against him as they watched traffic flow below. "What are you thinking?" Julian asked, his arms wrapped around her waist. That we made the right choice. Emma turned in his embrace. It wasn't easy, and we hurt people, but we were honest. We fought for something real. Having regrets? There was vulnerability in Julian's eyes despite the casual tone. Not even close. Emma kissed him softly. You were worth every complicated moment. Julian held her tighter. Tyler told me tonight that he's seeing someone seriously. A teacher named Michelle. He sounds happy. I'm glad. Emma rested her head against Julian's chest. He deserves that. They stood together in comfortable silence, two people who'd chosen the difficult path and found it led somewhere worth going. The city sprawled beneath them, full of complications and possibilities. But up here, wrapped in each other, everything felt clear. Emma's phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca, family dinner next Sunday. Mom's threatening to disown anyone who doesn't show. Fair warning, she's planning to interrogate Emma about future grandchildren. You've been warned. Julian read the message over Emma's shoulder and groaned. Too much. Emma laughed, genuine and bright. With your family? There's no such thing. But Julian, I'm ready for it. All of it.